Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and I hope you're ready to spill some more reality as we get into the latest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 9. Let's get into things right away and introduce our legendary, beautiful benefactresses who will be geeking with us tonight through all of the stars, style, and spectacles of episode 9, Rosemarie's Baby Shower, the Rusical. Let's welcome back to the podcast our weekly co-commentator right away because, she's ovulating and there's no more time for waiting. It's the one and only QuackrrJack. Jack, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing amazing, but I really need someone to get in my. Oh, wait. I'm doing amazing, sweeties. How are you doing tonight?
See, I knew there was only so long you were gonna be improved for. I knew it, and it just took
Hmm.
Plastique to bring it out of you, or maybe the devil. Who knows?
Oh,
Well, honestly, I would say actually I need to start off here by saying, holy guacamole, Jack, because tonight's episode
oh,
felt literally empty of any storylines. Outside of like maybe two conclusions to some
mm,
storylines that we got here, it for me it didn't really feel like there was that much story here. It kind of felt like everything was kind of about the musical, which we can kind of get into the conclusion of those people's storylines here a little bit later here in like the individual critiques. Um, but really, I felt like that we kind of like get right into things where we learned there's a twist this week, and although the ruby snippers are out, the double badge twist is back, where they get a badge for themselves and a badge to share. What were your thoughts here when they pulled out this little twist? Because we thought something was definitely coming as far as additional badge going. I wasn't expecting them to bring back this twist again.
I think I mentioned it where I thought like this is a definite possibility to do it because this happened in All Star 7 where someone else got to hand out a badge a second time kind of thing. So it doesn't surprise me that it happens. It's a really interesting week that it happens and like kind of the parallels to the other weeks with the outcome. Now I don't want to like say everything now, but it isn't outside of like the possibility of the girls' heads at this point. So I think as they said, like, the math is mathing right now, and they're kind of figuring it out what's going on.
I mean, there's only so much of the show that we have left here. I mean, we were kind of talking about it last week where, they have to get to some point where obviously they're going to stop giving out badges. And once you get close to the end, they're probably going to bring in more badges. So I like that we're seeing a little bit of strategy here. I think that's maybe the only kind of strategy or storyline we kind of get here from it. But there's a lot of talk about them deciding between or like what the strategy should be for this, and I do kind of agree with them that the idea should be the two badge winners just share the badges. Now, I do think there's an asterisk next to that, and I kind of want to get to that maybe a little later once we get to the actual decision that happened here. But I was very intrigued here because we kind of obviously know that at this point going into the competition, Roxxxy and Plastique have the lead with 4 badges. Angeria has 3, but she cannot get a badge this week. Everybody else has 2 except for Shannel, who has 0. So, I mean, if any of the bottom people who have 2, well, I shouldn't say bottom people, the people with 2 badges, manage to win this challenge, they give a badge to each other, they're now caught up to Roxy and Plastique. And there could be some buffoonery going on here. Jack, what are your thoughts here again as we get closer to the end? Lots of like our front runners who have kind of been heading the competition so far here with Roxy and Plastique that they are now in jeopardy despite doing so amazing all season. And even more to say here, this Plastique has won 4 challenges and still has not gotten any money for charity. Like, what is this business here?
So Plastique is in a really interesting situation. She's kind of in the same situation as Nina West is in, right? Like where she's like every time she's been in the top, she's never won the lip sync. So she's never, she's never had to deal with this kind of moment, right? Like as far as as far as her not winning any money, it's kind of upsetting because like you would think that there'd be like at least like a I don't want to say a pity prize, but like a second place prize, for the week if you don't win lip sync, so your charity still gets some. Like maybe they could split it like 10 and do a 5 or like 10 and do a 2 kind of thing.
Or
Or
give
even if
them
they
a
split the
thousand
10 and it was
dollars,
or right,
thousand
like
dollars for
something
winning.
something just to like your charity will receive like a fraction of what this girl's charity is gonna win since she beat you in the lip sync. So like it's kind of sad, but there was some controversy with her charity. So like with her specifically, it's like there's like a layers on layers on layers, right? With this moment, whereas like Nina West,
Actually, I did not know about this controversy with her charity. Tell me more.
oh,
Tell us more. Give
okay.
us
So
this
I don't
tea.
know all the tea. Let me tell you. Let me say this first. I don't know everything. I have not done all the research, but the controversy was that her charity has some really like shady and like slimy kind of dealings going on.
Mhm.
Um, Specifically in like what they promote and what's kind of going on within Plastique's charity. So girls were calling it out because they were like, I can't believe Plastique like chose this charity. And so there was like there's been some drama on like TikTok and Twitter, and it's kind of like, is it really genuine that people care, or is it more so people want to like talk some shit? But the problem is with it, it's not just this charity. Let me say, a lot of charities do kind of have that, like, not to say every charity, but a lot of charities do kind of have that shady stuff going on in the background, where like a lot of that money isn't going the way that you thought it would happen. And like a lot of these girls hear the name of the charity, they hear the mission statement, they say that speaks to me, that resonates within me. And it's not just these girls; it's anyone. And they pick something that would be great because on the outside that sounds great, but like some of the things that supposedly this charity has donated to have been very very big in the recent political state here in America, especially. And like I don't want to go into everything, but like essentially it's kind of like actively supporting genocide, quote unquote, from
Oh,
like partnering with, right. And I'm not saying that she knew or didn't know. I will say it was like, let's be honest, this charity decision wasn't made like just now. It was made a little in the past. Not to say that she's at no fault. I just don't think that it's like, I don't think like we should automatically wrap her up in this. But I'm just saying that there is, when you do a research on your charities, like I guess the point is you need to do research on your charities before, just in case, because like a
right.
big issue is like they partnered with Starbucks, and like everyone was talking about Starbucks and how if you just partner with Starbucks you're partnering with genocide. I don't think it's necessarily like 1 + 1 = 2 here, like the math they're doing here. I think there's a lot more to it. So I think
Mhm.
it's just something that we have to be mindful of.
Right, right. Yeah, I didn't want to get too deep here as well, too. So sorry if I made you jump down that
No, no,
rabbit
but
hole
like this
there.
is just
I was
this
just
is a very
intrigued, so I was
recent
just like,
thing.
"Oh, interesting," because it makes you wonder to some degree, like, okay, so like people are naming the charity, so did the whatever the casting team do their research? Is that why she's getting no money for it? It's
Hmm.
curious, you know? Who knows? Who really knows, honestly? Um, but at the end of the day, all I want to do care about really at the end is making sure Plastique gets a spot at the finale here because she deserves it. And
I
I
agree.
think even this episode too, she proved so much of how much she's grown from her first season here. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and get right into the Rusical ranking here because, like I said, as far as the
Wait, we can't talk
actual
about the drama
Rusical
that happened
goes,
beforehand?
oh my God, what drama? Nothing happened other than
What
stuff
do you
happening
mean?
on the
'Cause
main stage.
no, like in the girls when they're talking, Angeria and Roxxxy finally done with the snips, thank God. And obviously, Roxy told her like, unless you chopped me again, I wasn't going to chop you again. And I was like, okay, so this saga has come to a close finally, right? And so I was
Yeah,
like, great, great. Like we've kind of closed this chapter of the book. It feels like, because that was the main storyline for the last 8 episodes.
yeah, but that kind of felt like it kind of resolved itself last week when Angeria literally just grabbed the scissors from Roxy there. It was kind of like, okay, she's expecting it. There's no more of like these hard
Right.
feelings. It's the last one. It it just felt like it just happened. It ended, and we were done with it. I still don't think it's end of the storyline though. I still think there's probably
Maybe
going to
not.
be more Angeria and Roxy possibilities outside here. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, it's possible the entirety of the season here was basically Angie and Roxy snipping each other back and forth. Angie's not in the position I expected her to be in at the end of this episode. Um, but as far as, there's still possibilities for things to change. Who knows in this last episode again, how many badges they might be giving out. So, eh, you know, like I said, I didn't think that was really that much drama. It felt like it was just, Let's
Yeah,
mention it in a
but
song.
it kind of segued. Yeah, because the next little bit it involves Angeria too, because like there was that little dispute of who's gonna get what Rusical part, and there was a dispute between Angeria and Nina West, and it kind of felt like the show was trying to make us pick the sides here again, and like they were trying to make us because ultimately Nina West gets it from a pull from a hat, and
Did
it
that
kind
feel
of
like
looked
drama
like
though? That didn't feel like it was really drama.
I don't think it
I
was
feel like
necessarily drama.
we've seen what I thought. I mean, this was where there was more contention in season 15 when they made up
Well,
when what's her face just got upset about everybody being mad or being Lux being mean to her. There was more
well,
drama there than
that's
this
a
had been.
whole nother
Like this was
thing. Like
just like
this is like
this.
some producer like
Her,
sprinkled drama they're trying to get to us, right? Like this was like
yeah.
it just felt like they were trying to make us put Angeria against Nina here because then we had the side comments of like, oh, Nina can't dance when they're doing the stuff, and you're like, well, yeah, Nina can't dance. I mean, have you seen the woman? Like, no offense, Nina, but like it's not like Nina is the Jorgeous of the season. She's not the dancer, you know. She's not Vanessa Vanjie Mateo. She's not the dancer. I don't think anyone expected Nina to get the dance moves on the first try. And it was just like these small little snippets that I feel like that they might not mean much right then, but they can like slowly try to like warp your idea of like how you view some of the contestants. So I just think it's interesting that like we see that, but like I don't think it has much bearing on anything, right? Like
Oh.
to me, I'm like, oh, that doesn't make me think of Nina or Angeria differently. Like, I don't think either of the girls are like really shady. I think it's like some light shade when you're in the like the back room at the bar, you know?
I think that's why I glossed over it because none of it really felt like anything really mattered here at the end of the day. Like none of these dramas and most of these like Rusical episodes or anything outside of like them practicing and learning the lyrics and none of that matters. It's just they just put everything in to just make things look whatever, you know. And then what comes down to as
Hmm.
far as in most of these ones are like these episodes more than the others, like acting challenges, things like that. Um, More often than not, unless there's some actual friction between the girls, I kind of gloss over most of the drama. None of it feels like it's really matters here. And I kind of got that for most of whatever they were trying to make of the Angeria versus Nina situation too. If they come back and they have a lip sync next season or next week, okay, maybe we can revisit that here. But yeah, I didn't really get anything here that felt like it was really changing the story for the last few episodes here, as far as I'm concerned. Just from my perspective. Was there anything else you want to talk about here, though, Jack? Because, like I said, I didn't see anything here that was really worthy of commenting that much as far as their everything
No,
up
there's
until the
not
challenge
much. It
here.
was just I was like, oh, Nina wants this role. Like she wants it bad. She knows what this role is. Like this is seemed to me at least seemed like a similar role for her compared to like what she did on Broadway already. So it's kind of like maybe like we'll find out more. But it was just something I noted where I was like, no one else had a like no one else had like a I don't know what the word would be like. No one else had really any issues going on here. It was just these two were the only two that were not sure about their like what role was going to happen for them. Like everyone else pretty much got what they wanted, and we know at the end like Roxy was like, "All right, cool, I'll take this part," kind of thing. Like it was one of the first times we had seen like nobody had a real issue with anyone, and like no one's being a sourpuss. And I was shocked how well most of the girls did in the singing, except for Vanjie, who couldn't understand the difference between when and once. I thought that was hilarious.
Vanjie, yeah, Vanjie was definitely surprised when it comes to the audio here. I would say as far as like the overall musical though, um, my feelings, I think it's probably like maybe one of the cleanest musicals we've seen as far as like everybody performing like just ate here. Like everybody, I feel like did their best. Um, would I say it was my favorite musical? Like overall, I'd probably say no, just because I feel like the storyline didn't make any sense. It made sense up to a point. I feel like that's the problem with most of these musicals. They don't know how to end them. And for me, what I got as the moral of the story is that I should just go ahead and make a deal with the devil because it'll make me a better person.
Uh, I
What did
mean,
you take
the
away here,
story.
Jack?
The storyline was strange. At first, it made sense. Okay, they randomly just rushed into this lease. She wants to have a baby. She's like immediately a million months pregnant. So we skipped like at least 8 months of the storyline. They have her a baby shower. The baby shower happens, and she gives birth to said baby. And then the baby comes out and confronts everyone who it still seems are at the baby shower.
Right.
So I don't know. It was strange, and then it was just like all is forgiven now. Like what? I mean, there were a lot of funny like moments and like a lot of funny things happening, and no one had to say like, oh, this story has to be perfect or whatever. But it was strange. I think it was interesting that they noted that this Rusical was also written by the same people who wrote like the last three Rusicals for the U.S. normal seasons, not the All Stars, I believe.
Kind of
And
surprising.
yeah, I was like, okay, so that's good, but it was a little inconsistent, incoherent. Didn't really affect the performers per se. Just affected our or impacted, I guess, our view of the musical.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say like at the end of the day, everybody did really good. I'm still having a really hard time. I think at the end of the day, really figuring out who I think ranked where. I think everybody kind of is on a at least an A level or above. Um,
Yeah.
and just as a side note, Jack, I'm just curious. What is your favorite musical? So I think while Wigloose may be my most favorite in recent memory, I think Shay the Rusical will always still be my favorite just because it's the OG and you can't beat
Um,
the original.
there are a lot of musicals to choose from. I mean, always like the Women of the World musical from All Stars 2 is a good one for me, even if
Oh yes, good one, very good one.
even if it ended kind of weird in a way that I didn't necessarily like. I liked that a lot because it's like, you got to be a bad bitch if you want to make it in her story. So I kind of loved that. I liked Wig Loose till the conclusion of it. Um, the Rusical for me, I kind of wanted to say this earlier. Rusicals are one of those really shady challenges where sometimes it's written where like certain parts will never get a win really, and other times it's written where like they're setting up just these two or three parts to definitely get the win. Like no matter how much characterization you bring to this part, like it just won't beat like the star role or like the funny comedy girl at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like I mean, there's that famous a quote that we're all going back to saying, I should have been Black China. And we saw how that got handled, right?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I do agree. But at the same time, though, too, since they let them pick their parts, I think that's more on them now more than ever to fight for the parts they want to make sure they don't get a shitty part because they've seen what can happen if you get a shitty part. So, um, yeah, I don't, I do agree. There are definitely parts, and I think there are definitely parts in this particular skit that I don't think we're ever going to win either. And
Hmm.
we can kind of get into that now if you want to here. Let's go and we can start out at least in the order that they popped out on the official what musical here. So they're introduced, and we can also talk about the runway looks here too. While we get into them too. They're a runway category for the week, which I was just like, this would happen here because I've been hating on Man Pearls all year, and of course they're gonna do a pearl runway. Bring back my pearls, these mofo's. Um, anyways, let's start out with Plastique, who plays our title character Rosemarie, and she is our virginal character who wants a baby so bad that her husband ends up selling his soul to make sure that she gets pregnant with the baby of the devil. So I really liked Plastique here. I thought she did a really funny voice for her whole horny scene. She did Britney Spears in Stronger Proud with the table or sorry with the chair. It's all about it. I thought like leading into this, I never would have expected Plastique to take a lead character, but I will say in this particular musical more so than others, I do think each character really had their time to shine and take the main stage. So I don't know if I would really say Plastique would be kind of like a sole lead for me. I feel like everybody kind of had their time. So as far as Plastique goes here, I still think she did well. I was initially a little shocked by the outcome that she wasn't even considered to be one of the tops because I thought she did consistent. But I didn't really see any negatives in her performance whatsoever. And as far as her runway goes, I think my favorite of the week, again, Plastique has been really bringing it a lot in the runways here. I love the semi reveal that she kind of did in the beginning with the sides of her gown that actually turn out to, or well, the tops of the piece make her look like she's a shell, which turn out to be the parts of her gown. Just I love her makeup. I love the hair. I love the jewels. There's just so much opulence about this look. She just looks so rich and so good. And Plastique always looks fantastic on the runway. So I'm not surprised here by Miss Plastique this week when it comes to both the runway and her newfound confidence in these comedy challenges. So was very, very happy for Plastique this week. And I'm still so worried that she may not be here in the end. Would be such a tragedy. Jack, what are your thoughts on Miss Plastique this week as Rosemarie?
Wow. The Plastic really blew me out of the water. I was scared when she kind of went for the main role. I was like, I'm not sure about this one, girl. Like, you're not really known for singing. I know you're not a bad dancer, but like, I was nervous because I was like, never in my life did I think to myself, oh, you know who should lead the musical? Like the number one girl in the musical. Plastic would do such an amazing job with all the vocals and everything. And then I guess I should have known when she did such a great characterization during the singing part of the challenge. I don't know what she did in her life. Like, I don't know if it's just because of the success or if she's really worked on herself because it feels like she's worked on herself. But you see a totally different person than you saw on season 10 because this girl, or not, I'm sorry, not season 10, what is it?
11. You were so close. 11.
11. Thank you. Oh my gosh, I can't count. You see a
So
totally
close.
different person than we saw in season 11. It's because she's just completely different. I think she's taken all those notes that RuPaul also gave to Jorgeous and also had like kind of the same things and like really applied those. Like I really see her stepping into her own, not being afraid to be ugly, like not being afraid to be stupid, not being afraid to be funny, like because she's so much more than just a pretty girl, you know. She's proving it every week. I also have to agree with you. I was kind of shocked she wasn't in the top. I was a little nervous for her because I wasn't sure how they were gonna react to the Rusical because I've seen plenty of times where girls have done extremely well in a Rusical and then kind of got like ditched behind because of one small thing they did. I just want to highlight Tina Burner and her musical where she was in the bottom three when everyone thought she
Mhm.
was going to be in the top.
Does she
Just because
stop singing
she,
for 2 seconds? No,
right, to
way too
act
bad.
dead. And if another girl had done that, they would have loved it. I'm just saying. But like that's kind of the part of the musical that's a little shady. Her runway though, at first I was like, oh, this is really nice. But is it as nice as some of her other stuff? And then I had to pull myself back and be like, hold up a second. Like you can't judge this outfit compared to all of her other outfits because it's not fair when it's in the context of this week and the other girls and stuff like that. Like, this is still a beautiful outfit. It still mentions, like, she references the birth of Venus in this. She looks like her, but the clamshell is essentially, like, at her thighs as opposed to her feet, you know. And at first I was like, well, maybe the dress at the bottom is a little too simple. But then I thought to myself, how much more extravagant, how much more crazy can it be without it just going so far over the edge that I can't think of where to look? And I was trying to find something to explain this feeling I had, and I realized that I was just trying to find a flaw with it because it wasn't as extravagant and big and colorful like a lot of her other things have been. Like, this is her doing the solid white look. Like, you know, I love a good monocolor theme, especially since we're doing pearls. Like, it looks great. She looks gorgeous. You said the word opulent. I agree. The hair is amazing. The makeup is, of course, correct. Like, these things are never wrong. Her body shape is amazing. Like, there's very little to critique here in a negative. All I can say is, like, great job for Plastique. Amazing week. I think she really nailed it. I could have seen her in the top two easily.
And I see what you're saying as well too, as far as the looks go here. And I think we've just seen some top tier, just amazing looks that will go down in just history of some of the best looks that we've seen here. So if this is the worst of Plastique's runway package and just the, what I'm saying here, like she's still served. she
Like,
she
is it
still
even fair
ate,
to say
left no
the
crumbs.
worst,
She went to
really?
a buffet and whatnot. She's eaten. She's not hungry.
Yeah.
She served. She got her EBT card. She's putting the guacamole on her Taco Tuesday taco, so she good.
Holy guacamole's
Um,
back, baby.
no, so like I agree, but I'm still love this look of Plastique. Um, we'll have to maybe one day go through at the end of the season and rank everybody's runway and compare them against themselves. But
Oh
comparing
gosh.
them against everybody else here, it's still silly. And I think someone else that also surprised me, at least for the runway, 100% here was Angeria. I love this look on Angeria. I think this might be the best she's looked all season. It could possibly be because it kind of gives me a call back to like her promo look, and she looked gorgeous in her promo look. I still think that might be my favorite that she has looked this whole season. But as far as the challenge goes, I kind of feel like she got overshadowed by Shannel. She was kind of giving a little bit of the same kind of country character that she kind of gives with like that granny energy, and it's good, like, it's solid, but it's not I think at this point, like, it's a little played out, like, if we're gonna critique Gottmik for doing the same old, like, Valley Girl with the vocal fry, whiskers thing, like, we can't we also need to, like, look at Angeria sometimes too and be like, "Girl, you're kind of always giving that same, like, energy when it comes to these performances here," so I didn't hate it. I think she still did maybe the weakest for me out of everybody in it, but even she did a great job, so I'm not like that upset by what happened here. I just what I realized for this particular challenge here, the people that maybe picked something slightly outside their wheelhouse, the people that did something a little bit more unexpected, since everybody did a good job, I think for me nitpicking, those were the people that I kind of gave a little bit more credit to. So, Angeria kind of playing the same kind of character she always does. Eh, you know, I still think she did a good job here. But that runway, oh my god, that runway. Jack, what are your thoughts here?
So I'm going to kind of agree and disagree with you on both points here. I want to start with the presentation on the Rusical. I thought that she did a really good job in characterizing the part of like being a devil worshiper and stuff. I was a little confused that she was so different from Chanel, but then I kind of realized like these sisters also aren't that close, and there's some lyrics about that. So I was like, that's fine that she's not like there. But I'm glad you brought it up because I feel this way about Angeria, and anytime I express this, people get really mad and upset about it. And I understand because we all have our favorite queens, but I feel like Angeria does stick in that box a little bit too much of like the southern, kind of like how you said the Valley Girl for Gottmik, and kind of how I feel about Vanjie a little bit at a lot of the
Mm-hmm,
time,
mm-hmm.
like where we see a lot of the same. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just saying that like when you're in a competition like this, versatility can be key. And so for me, I didn't think that I could have seen her winning this week, only because I feel like the judges like love her a lot, but like for me, she was one of the people I could not see winning this week in like my own mind because I just didn't feel like she also had enough background presence. Like during the other scenes, I felt like she was very lost for me when it wasn't her time in the shot in the spotlight, if that makes sense. And
Makes
so
perfect sense.
moving into this idea onto the runway, this is where I slightly disagree, slightly agree with you. I like her look. I think the headpiece is phenomenal. I think the coat she had was pretty good. The dress is all right for me, and I'll tell you why. It's just that Angeria kind of plays in this area of the showgirl kind of thing, but like the Southern Belle, like very glam or showgirl kind of thing. I've seen this before from her. I don't think this is the best she's ever looked on the runway, in my opinion. Like I still remember her like flaming tail look one. I thought was better, in my opinion. I
Fair. Honestly,
I
I'm not
think,
thinking about everything off the top of my head here. I
yeah,
can't really
it's just
remember
got
too
personal
many of
like
Angie's
my
runways,
taste.
honestly.
I think that like this silhouette, not silhouette, I'm sorry, this specific showgirl dress is something I've seen before, and I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of the placement of all the fur feathers that were on her dress. I'm not really sure which it was. I think it was feathers, but I couldn't really tell. Um, I just didn't really like. I guess one thing about this was like, I felt like the pearls were a little bit of an afterthought because I was more into the feathers or whatever, but that doesn't really matter because like I can see this could either be like the feathers or fur or pearls or whatever. But it's the placement and how I think it just was very expected. And I think a lot of girls this week did something that I think was very expected of them. Even Plastique a little bit did something expected, but still enough to be like outside of like just bam. Like so for me, Angeria like wasn't the top of the top this week, but I still think she did a great job. She's nowhere. She's not like near the bottom of my list for anything, other than the fact of the Rusical because I wasn't. I just didn't think in my mind I would give Angeria the top two because we had so many standout performances tonight.
Well, I mean, I fair. I see your critiques, but I haven't been the biggest fan of Angie's most of her runways here, so I think this is maybe her best runway she's brought this season. So, or second
That's totally
best,
fair.
top three off the top of my head that I can think of. Let's go and move on to our next queen, Miss Shannel playing Sydney. She was kind of like the good girl from Boston that's actually worshiping the devil. Jack, what were your thoughts here on Miss Chanel's character?
So I really liked her character. It was very old school drag, and I'm a fan of that. I thought, though I have to say, I really thought that she was going to get red because I did not think they were going to like her. Like I liked her choice to be New York and everything like that, but I really thought that they were going to read her for not being enough because she was in her character to the point where I couldn't tell if she was doing enough to stand out. And I think it was just one of those, this character wasn't really like the funniest character, not the biggest over the top character when we had so many other girls with like these big characters. So I guess I was kind of like nervous for her. And I was kind of shocked because she was on my list of like might not win this challenge because of this. But honestly, with all the girls doing so well, it kind of was a night where I was like, I guess anyone could win. Though there were a few standouts that I was like, one of these people has to be in the top.
Yeah, I don't think I'm mad at her being given the win here. Again, too, I was a little shocked initially here because she didn't. I wouldn't say she didn't stand out to me. She did a very great job. She was very solid, and did a great job with the characterization. She kept up the part throughout the entire story, even in the background. And I noticed, I think maybe with one other girl, and I think maybe that's probably why they ended up getting the win here. They kind of definitely kept things up, even when the spotlight was not on them. So as far as everything goes for Chanel, I still think she did a great job here. So not upset by the ultimate outcome, but let's get to her runway look because I'm still not really sure what to make of this. Honestly, initially I really liked it, then I kind of hated it. Then I went back to kind of like, all right, it's all right. Now I kind of hate it again. I don't know. I'm just, I'm just, yeah, I don't know if I can
Uh,
really. I don't know. Is it? You know, it's kind of giving me. Like the
what?
ball runway from
The
like
ball challenge, the ball
yeah,
challenge.
it's like when they had like when Jada put like the little balls all over herself. That's kind of what it's giving me here, but it I don't like the bodysuit. I don't like the color. I don't like this. I just have to be honest. I don't I can't even really put into words why I don't like it. I just don't like it. It's just the headpiece is weird. I don't like the bubbles. I don't. Chanel, I'm sorry. Please invite me to the Christmas party. I just don't like this look. The makeup is gorgeous, though. The makeup matches the outfit, so I'll give you that. What's your thoughts here, Jack?
So I actually had kind of the opposite thought of that. I love Chanel's look this week. I think Chanel's look is something that's in her wheelhouse yet still out of the box for her because I loved that all these big balls were supposed to be pearls. I love that her boobs were pearls. I love that like we got this glossy blue reflective kind of throughout because that's kind of what pearls do. They have this reflective quality if they're shined and look nice at the time, right? Like most pearls are shiny, but they can get metalled, I guess. But like everything looked well. I kind of liked the shape of this because I saw the big headpiece, yet she wasn't afraid to go with like these extravagant shoulders. And she doesn't have like my favorite shape of the night, but it was definitely something I was kind of unexpected to see from her because I guess recently I haven't been feeling like her runways have been giving that much. And some of that might be because there've been a few design challenges as well, but I still felt like I wasn't sure how this was going to go. But I love that she made this pearl thing instead of making it just a dress or just like something that looks nice. She kind of went out of the box. She kind of looks creature like. She almost gives me Steven Universe if a pearl fused with a diamond outside of like Rose kind of thing. Like if this was White Diamond fusing with her pearl, maybe this is similar to what we would be looking at. And I kind of loved this idea. So I was kind of loving this. There were a few things that made me like I wasn't sure about the shoe. I was on the fence about that. And at times I looked at some of the pearls and I was like, a few of these do look a little crafty. But I think overall it's a really good look. She's in my top looks of the week. I'm still trying to find out where I'm placing her exactly. It's just I really like this. I like how it's out of the box, but also still very Chanel because it's still regal, it's still gaudy kind of thing. Like and I love when a girl can stick to her style and still do something that shocks me.
Okay, I do see what you're saying. With Chanel, she does have the Vegas aesthetic. I'm still not sure if I really like it here. I don't know. Well, we just saw the look today. We'll see if it grows on me overnight before I make my official ranking here. But, still overall a fantastic week for Miss Chanel here, and so happy that she's finally on the board. We could finally stop saying Miss Chanel is badgeless. She's on the board, y'all. Let's move on to our next queen here, Miss Gottmik, who was playing Blair, the possessed girl from The Exorcist. And I didn't mind Gottmik's performance here. I will say she did a lot better than I was expecting her to do. Especially judging after season 13, she wasn't the best dancer here, but she did pretty good here for the most part. Although I do think she had maybe a little less dancing than some other people. The flips that she did in the
Hmm.
middle were really cool. That was fun, but a lot of that was more on like I don't think that's really her being flipped. Those are more like the dancers flipping her kind of thing. So still good though. She's solid, very solid. As far as the look goes, and initially kind of same thing as Chanel's. I hated it first, then I loved it, but then I kind of stuck again on loving it as I usually do for Gottmik. I really enjoy this look, and I kind of feel like this is kind of what maybe Chanel was like. Maybe if like we're looking like okay, black oysters and then white oysters, if she's like the good pearl, then Gottmik is the evil one. And I didn't initially, until I rewatched it again, realize that she did the patterning with the, I believe the Swarovski crystals or whatever that's jeweled on the front with, as a body, as like a rib cage. And then I was like, oh, and then the spine in the back, it all makes sense. I love that. It's giving very Anitra from Design Challenge, whatever that was in season 15, the background.
The ball,
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
and then I love the horns, love the devil idea. She just is a very unique conceptual take on just, typical Pearl stuff. And I know I kind of shit on Chanel for having a bodysuit here, but this felt like it's a lot more edited than what Chanel did. So this is why this, I think, caught my eye a little bit more. But I guess to some degree, my only negative here too is I don't get Pearl when I look at it right away. So. Still wasn't my top looks here. I still always will enjoy Gottmik look, but I'm sure you got something to say about it, Jack, because I know
I
you. I know
do
you.
have something to say about it.
I know you. Go for it.
So Gottmik was actually my eighth place when it came to her performance in the Rusical.
Yeah,
Um, I think that
understandable.
I think she did a good job. I just think that everyone did such an amazing job that like there were times I didn't feel like she was fully in character, and I know there were a couple scenes, especially like that, like her wig turning around on her head. I don't feel like it was really edited well to make it look like her head was actually spinning. I know that they like weren't doing anything crazy, but you know what I'm saying? Like they did flashing lights, so it was like pew, like this time now it's in front of her head, and this time you see her lip syncing, but the wig is like now back on the normal position. And I was like, okay, like part of this is editing. But even outside of her performance kind of thing, there were times where I was like, is she this character though? And I was like, I'm not sold. I didn't think she did a bad job though. Like it definitely wasn't like, oh, you're in the bottom two. I mean, if I had to pick a bottom two this week, she would be there, but that's not because like she's bad. It's just we're really looking at like such a strong week for all of the girls, right?
There's no bottom two, but if there was a bottom two, okay, she'd
I
be
mean, and it's not
there.
like you're a bottom two. It's more like you're in the safe two, right?
Yeah.
You're in the safe
This
two.
is
Like
a
we're not gonna.
non-elimination week for sure. They would
Yes,
give
this
a
would have
top
been a
two. This
definite
would be no
non-elimination week.
draw for sure.
That
Um,
being said, though, her outfit, I had kind of the same reaction as you did, where I was like, "Oh, I like it," and then I was like, "Oh, I kind of don't," but then I kind of do, but then I kind of don't. And there are elements that I really love about this. But I have to say that the more I look at it and the more I watch it, the less I'm kind of interested in it. And I think I should start off with like the really good things that I love, and that are like the shoe obviously is like really good. Like this looks really good. This like looks demonic. I see like the devilly thing. Um it is a bodysuit, you did mention that. I do like how the crystals are laid out to look like a rib cage, and then on the back, like the spine, and I do like that they go down the arms and the leg, I guess. But the legs just feel so bare boned and just bodysuit, and don't really have much personality. The arms, on the other hand, like they look like they could have been the bones almost because of how thick the crystals were. Like I could see those as being the bones. I wasn't really sold on the shoulder pads, if I'm being 100% with you. I was kind of like, eh, I'm not hating them, but then they matched at the hips, and I was like, I mean, I wasn't like upset about it, but I wasn't gagging. My favorite part, honestly, about this look outside of the headpiece was really the shoes, where it looked like the little arms on the claws of the shoe, right? Um, but I did like the spine on the back and the torso on the front, and I love the hanging jewels down at like right where the genitals would normally be, right on a human body. So I was like really like loving and hating so many things at the same time with this. I get that it kind of doesn't always scream like pearl, but like the fact that she did the black pearl is really cool. It was like a good contrast, but it was just so something I expected from Gottmik, I guess, that I was kind of like trying to find myself like, do I, how do I maybe place this on the list? Like, I'm still not completely sure, but like, I don't think it was the strongest showing by far. I don't think it was her worst showing either. I just think that this wasn't anything that was like, wow, I'm so engaged and I love this so much, because it didn't really take my breath away in a way that like I think other kind of people did, but it was still a really great moment for her. They're just like, when I get into the details, I'm like, oh, this isn't as great for me. Still a good luck, just not my favorite of the night.
Understandable. Well, I'm gonna let you take the lead here for our next queen, as I normally do here. Miss Roxy Andrews playing Pennywise, aka Pennywise from It. What are your thoughts on Miss Roxy tonight?
So let me start with the runway, because I know this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where I said a lot of the girls did something that was like very in their wheelhouse, they've done before kind of thing. Roxy looks gorgeous. She's dripping in pearls. It looks good on her body. Her hair looks amazing. The white gloves, she's doing the showgirl thing that we've seen her do before. And it's a beautiful outfit and it works great. And I love that she even went with like the clear heels and stuff here. But again, this is like, I get that this is a Pearl runway. I see that this is a Pearl runway. I at least know it's a Pearl runway 1000%, right? Like, no one can say, oh, this isn't a Pearl runway, unless they're like, oh, it's a white runway. Like, that's the two categories I think we can see here. But again, it's like not anything that like made me go like, wow, that's the best thing Roxy's ever worn. It's a nod again to her style of drag. I like when girls stay true to themselves. Again, wasn't like anything like breathtaking. Liked it, didn't love it, you know? Like Roxy always looks gorgeous. It's not anything bad. It's just one of those like this isn't one of the wow kind of moments. You know what I'm saying? That being said, though, her Rusical performance, I was shook because if you remember correctly, Roxy did decently well in her Rusical on All Stars 2. I don't think her part ever had a chance to be in the top because some of those parts were just way too good and some of them were lacking. But like her Rusical moment on season 5, or her original season, she was in the bottom three, and Santina Rice had the audacity to talk about her body shape in her outfit, which is still to this day I won't forgive. Which is how you know
It's okay.
I
No
like
one
love
forgives Santino
Roxy.
for anything he's done anymore.
Okay, great. Glad we're all accepting this one. Um, this it was kind of the same for me as I saw Plastique, where I was like, this girl has really let go. She's just really gone for it. Like her performance of Pennywise, I was expecting, and maybe this might be like too close of a comparison because there was a musical on Canada season 2 where one of the characters played another Pennywise character because it was a clown musical. And I was like, oh, is it going to be like one of those musicals where like Pennywise like steals the show? But no, it was each of the three girls like kind of got their part like as the neighbors. But the whole time she was in character, she was hilarious. I don't know how she made her head look so like elongated, yet still like had her wig and stuff on. Like she looked amazing in the Pennywise stuff. Like even the judge panel was like, I didn't know that was you when you came out here. Like the guest judge wasn't sure who that was supposed to be um, underneath it all. And I think that's like it shows that she really put in the work to transform her body for this. But her performance was really strong, and I even on the corner of my eyes, like when I'd see her in the background and stuff, she was still doing her whole like ha ha ha, I'm a clown, I'm Pennywise, and I was like, oh my god, like clowns are creepy, right? So I wasn't sure if Roxy was gonna just do it, but she did it. She performed. I was a fan. I think she stayed in character most of the time. I didn't really see any times where she wasn't in character, so I believed it. I think also her aesthetic was really good in it. Like, as far as like the neighbors went, like all of them did a good job, but two of the neighbors really stood out to me as could be in the top this week, where one of them was my least favorite of the night.
No, I have to agree with you as well too. I love Roxy's performance here. Before I get into that though, just want to touch on her look really quick because I initially okay, here's the thing. I don't hate any of these looks. I think they're all good. Is it basic? Yes, because it's literally just she's just literally just Um, but does she look beautiful? Yes. So I feel like Roxy's thing is just the simplicity and just doing it right and looking good and just having really no faults outside of really, the fact it's just not more extravagant. Like it's just giving very, old school season like 5, 6, 7 where she's from. Like when we would have runways that were opulent, but they're not like to the same style and like people like Plastique Tiara going into debt and spending, millions of dollars on one outfit. Like Roxy's making these herself, and that has to be you have to give her, kudos for doing that. Oh, thanks for spilling, Mama. Anyway, there's just sorry, I had to do the reference there. As soon as I said kudos, I was like, oh shit, I just walked right into it. Anyway, yeah, not my favorite of the night here, but definitely like even though it might be like one of my least favorite, like in the lower tier, lower half of the group, I still think it's a great look here, and I'm actually the more I'm looking at it here, the more I'm kind of like, do I like this more than I think I do? I think I might have to sleep on some of these looks because they're still very fresh here. But as far as her performance goes, I was also in agreement here that I thought she was going to be in the top. She did such a great job. Like just the transition from this her look, her runway look to her look as sorry, as Pennywise was just ridiculous. ridiculous. Like they don't even look like the same person. The makeup that she did for that could have literally been on any sort of like she. If there's literally a drag it movie, just go ahead and get Pennywise. You're done. You're good. Like scary as fuck. And the juxtaposition of her dancing around in just the comedic performance of the character did such a great job. And I think you're right here. I think Roxy's finally at a point in I think her career where she's finally really letting go 100%. We're really getting to see the real side of Roxy here without any of like the hangups, the pressure of whatever it was that was going on in her head before of like initially doing well here in her first stunt and then the whatever happened during her second time here. Like this is Roxy. And I'm so glad we're getting to see it. And if I could be honest, I was going to say I was pretty sure Roxy was going to be in the top until our next performer came out and just I think stole the whole Rusical because I was not expecting Jorgeous as Morgan, aka M3gan, to be one of the most hilarious, most maybe like well acted and technically proficient parts here. Just the way that she melted the performance with the acting, being a robot but also a dancer, flawless. Like I literally died too at the point where they did the whole Megan choreography there in the beginning. Or it was just so good. It was so good. Um, Even in the background, like we've been kind of saying with some other people, George with 1,000% committed to this character. I don't think I've ever seen Georges more committed to anything. I don't know if Georges has been more committed to anybody or anything in her life as much as she has been to this performance. Like this was everything and more that I was expecting out of this, and just 5 stars, SS plus plus tier. Taylor Swift wrote the song "Lyrical Genius" of the millennium. Just everything that Georges did here was fantastic. Outside the Taylor Swift reference, that was a joke. I will say though, the runway, eh, Georges looks beautiful. That's about it. What are your thoughts on Georges tonight here, Jack?
So, George's tonight. This is kind of the craziest thing to me because, and let me say something. I don't view the runway as like a 50-50 split with your performance. So let me just say that first. Like I think her performance was so good as Megan. I do want to give props to her for like being in character most of the time. I think she really did an amazing job. I think if I really nitpicked, I probably could have found a time or two that she wasn't as robotic, but at the same time, like, girl, bye. Like, it was so good. It was so good. Like, her performance, they showed us that little bit of, like, her, like, how am I going to do this while also looking robotic and being, like, an AI. Her performance really, like, killed it. She was stunning. She had been, like, everything. I do feel like her runway for her is a step up from where her normal what I said the Georgia special was. But I still see that element of the Georgia special here. I do like the nod to the Wife of Frankenstein hair with the pearls. The pearls, um, I I wasn't a huge fan of this dress. I think it's probably my least favorite of the night, if I'm being completely honest. Like, I'm not trying to hate, but like, her runway wasn't anything special for me, right? Like, a lot of the girls stuck in their wheelhouse, and that is fine. But like, if I have to call Shannel's crafty, I kind of have to call this crafty too at like the side piece because just kind of felt like it was there, and I wasn't gagging. I don't think anyone was gagging. I think we all kind of agreed, like subtly, that this wasn't like a standout runway performance tonight for her or many of the girls, honestly. But it's not a terrible look. It's not like, oh, this look means she shouldn't be in the top two. I was a little nervous for her at one point just because of the look, and you know how sometimes they do that kind of shit. Not to be hateful, but we know how sometimes they love to not really give the girls their flowers. Now here though, I think Georgia really got her flowers. I'm glad she placed in the top. I saw that. Like, I think we can all agree that we saw Georgia in the top this week. She killed it. I was shocked because like a Rusical, yes, performance, but if you remember, she was in the bottom for her Rusical, which like not very surprised by since if you remember her the Mulan Rusical, it was very simple that she was going to be in the bottom, or honestly, I thought it was between her and Angeria that was going to end up in the bottom against Bosco that week, so it wasn't really crazy. So for her to have like a 360 of that is great. Great for her. Great week for her. I definitely think she earned her spot on the top. Not with the stress, but with her performance for sure.
Yeah, definitely not with this dress, but definitely everything else. Jorgeous has definitely been the surprise the last few weeks, so um, I don't have any regrets with being a little bit harsh on Jorgeous in the beginning because I mean look
Nope.
where she is now here. So I don't think she would have been pushed this hard if people weren't a little hard on her. So hopefully she stays in this area and just continues to grow here. So fantastic night for Jorgeous here. Let's go to Miss Nina here. And going into everything here, I was kind of just expecting Miss Nina to end up being one of the tops here, just because as she kind of said in her one of her confessionals why she picked Dr. Poltergeist, it felt like normally in most like other musicals, this kind of would be the character that would win the show, where they come in the middle and they would take over, but every character kind of had their moment where they kind of came in, took the spotlight, and then kind of faded into the background a little bit. So I don't think that strategy worked out here for Miss Nina because I don't think her part necessarily was as strong as I think she was thinking it was. Just as far as how it was written, how much time she was even there for. 'Cause she was there in the second last person to enter at this point. Um, but I think it is strong. I feel like for me, like I said, I think just the fact that maybe her and the last person entered a little too late here. There were other people here that got to establish themselves from the start and really kind of have longer arcs here. There wasn't really a character arc for Nina's character. The doctor really kind of didn't do very much. Still strong. Like I said, it felt like a very expected performance from Nina, where other people were very outside the box. Whereas I will say this runway for me, slightly unexpected from Nina. I don't know. Well, no, wait, that was no. Well, she's kind of done like the Victorian aesthetic a little bit here this season. This is kind of like a much more fashionable version of what she's done here. Like I kind of enjoyed like the color combination she has here and the idea that she was going for. Um, I'm not really mad at any of it. Like this actually I hate saying for Nina, but for
Wow.
Nina, this looks great. My only negative that I absolutely hate on this is the eyeglasses that make it look like she's being like having the face sucker from Alien stuck on her face. Like, I don't understand that part of it. Like I get what she's going for and trying to be like futuristic, but also like from the past as well too. I don't like that. But I this weekend, last week, I think Nina's had some all right runways. Will they ever make a top 10 list? Yeah. Is it in the top four of my late this week? No. But I think it just has to be said for Nina that she's doing as well as she can, and I don't want her. I don't want to shit on her this week. So good job, Nina. What were your thoughts on Nina this week, Jack?
Nina was someone who I definitely thought I could see in the top this week. Her performance was really good. I was expecting her part to be bigger because of the debate, I guess, they had about who should get this part, in the musical. I was kind of expecting it to be pretty big. I liked Nina's performance a lot. I think she did a great job. I think she was outstanding. And I don't want to hate on anyone, but I do think that the right person was chosen for this part. It's just my opinion. Um, I think this was a good choice for Nina. I think this was really fun. Um, I was kind of shocked she wasn't in the top two because, she has done Broadway and stuff. So I was kind of expecting her to be in the top two this week. Especially because, not to be mean, but like there are some weeks in this competition that Nina could never in a million years be in the top two, right? So I felt like if they wanted her to be in the top two, this was a good week to do it. And people can take that as they want, but it's just my opinion that I do think she, maybe isn't necessarily the uh, most fashionable queen, I guess, is a nice way of saying it, right? She did a good job on this runway too that I was kind of shocked by. I guess part of me was confused because it was a pearl runway and I wasn't really getting pearl at first from her outfit until they zoomed in and I saw everything was made of pearls and I was like, oh, okay, great. Because I kind of disagree with you. I really loved the matching hair and face part. I liked that a lot. I loved the pearls around her neck. I liked a lot of what was going on here in her look. Like we've seen this Victorian from her, I think a little bit before. I think one of the only things for me that I was kind of confused about was maybe the bottom half of the dress just feels very and here it is kind of thing. You know, like this top half, like I feel like there's supposed to be something going on with this pattern, but I'm not really sure what it is. And originally Nina was in like my top four of the week, but as I've been like considering things, I've kind of been like, but is she really top four? And I'm kind of thinking maybe not so much. Because it's just the more I look at it, the more I find like a detail here or there that I wasn't like it wasn't my favorite thing. So I mean, she did really well. I was kind of surprised she was in the top, but overall, very good week for her.
Yeah, very good week for Miss Mina here. Let's go and close this out with our final performance of the night here. Miss Vanjie playing Rosemarie's baby, and I'm still not really sure what to make of like what the characterization was supposed to be happening here. Is she like a pop star taking over the world? Is she Sam Smith? I don't I don't understand the character here. But Jack, I want you to go ahead and we'll let you have the final first thought here on our last look tonight.
So I definitely think that her character was supposed to be reminiscent of Sam Smith. I think that yes, it was supposed to be this it was supposed to be like there were a couple references in this musical that we saw, and hers was definitely that of the unholy music video. And I think I want to say that her part, what made me most nervous was, how some girls we've said get into their own shtick or whatever, and they can't change. Vanjie is like the number one criminal of this on this show, I would say, because we all know that uh, Miss Vanjie gets does the Miss Vanjie very well, but sometimes she has a problem escaping that kind of Miss Vanjie-ness of it all. And I was pleasantly surprised at her performance. I thought it was really good. I could have actually seen her on the top this week, and I thought I enjoyed the times she was on stage. Maybe she wasn't always the most in character, I guess, which I could see as to why she wouldn't be in the top for those reasons. But it's very hit or miss with some of that. Now, as far as her runway look, I it took me a while to figure out where I was with this one because Miss Vanjie comes out in something that's very similar silhouette wise we've seen for her. The lots of pearls and the corset, the kind of like bodysuit thing, the stone tights. But the makeup is so good with the pearl placements and the hair and the pearl in the hair and just done up like this. She's the pearl and the clam. And I think this is kind of funny because it kind of reminds me of like a campy version of like the birth of Venus because now instead of standing on the clam, she's inside of the clam, like, and she's wearing the clam as her like headpiece essentially, right? And I think this is really fun and really festive, and I think like the headpiece is so extravagant. I think that's kind of what I want at this level, right? Like I want something like big and like very specific. Like she is the pearl in the clam. Like this is funny. This is a fun narrative. I like this for her. Overall, I think a really good week for Vanjie. And I'm still deciding where I want to put this because at first I was kind of putting it lower, but I kind of do like it a lot. Like I really do like a lot about this. So I'm gonna have to kind of get into it and really see how I'm feeling about it.
I currently have this look as number three. I really enjoy this look from Miss Vanjie.
Okay.
Like the last few weeks from her, I've really enjoyed her looks. It's the big, gigantic, over the top shell for me that I think pulls everything together. Honestly, without it, it's kind of a basic look. And I think you are right that the pearl placements are pretty fantastic here. They do look really good and they do accentuate like her shape. But if there wasn't that big gigantic clamshell on her head, I would be kind of like, what are we doing here? What's happening here? But I love it as just a giant statement piece, and it's kind of very like I like that we started off with like plastiques, with her kind of coming out with it being part of like the fabric of her gown, and now like Vanjie is just being coming out just very literal at the very end, and so we kind of open and close the runway with a kind of similar but very different takes on the same kind of concept of the pearl shell, so or the birth of Venus. So I really like this from Miss Vanjie here, and you're right, she's definitely beat for the gods. And as far as her character here, again, still was a little confused here. She she gave me Sam Smith a little bit, but she also kind of gave me Vanjie too, with a little bit of her characterisms. Like there was that moment where like I think it was Nina came up to her and like tell her to stop dancing or do whatever she's doing, and Vanjie did like that fighting thing, like she wanted to fight her kind of thing, and it just gave me kind of like more Vanjie, just kind of Vanjie motioning.
Miss
So
Vanjie.
you know, she can't help herself sometimes. It is what it is, but. Can I say the vocalization that she had here was so good? I was not expecting that from her. Um, she usually kind of has that Kermit sound to her. Did not have Kermit sound to her at all during any of that recording. Like they did such a good job mixing Vanjie's part. So as far as that goes, that was really my only negative here. Was there were some points of Vanjie's performance that I felt were kind of expected. I feel like maybe we didn't get enough time with her character, but overall, I thought Vanjie did really well here. I wouldn't have been surprised they stuck her in the top two. I was actually Loki kind of expecting a Jorgeous Vanjie top two at one point, but turns out again, they finally give Shannel her flowers, and her and Jorgeous, I think rightfully are the top two for this episode. I think they make an argument here for both of them here, especially Shannel. Shannel deserves her flowers, especially after being robbed so many times throughout the season. So I'm very happy for both of them here. And we end the episode as we don't have to wait for next week for them to decide their badge choices. We get it at the end of this episode. And we find out right away that Jorgeous and Shannel decide just to share stars, which makes sense for Jorgeous to give Shannel a star because she doesn't have one that puts her at two. But I was a little surprised that Shannel decided to give her badge to Jorgeous. I mean, it's the right thing to do, but only three people are getting to this finale, right? Three people now
Right.
have four badges, and Shannel has two. She now has to somehow get two badges to even tie those people in the next round. I don't know if that was the best strategic choice. I would have given it to Vanjie. What were your
Uh,
thoughts on this whole choice here that went down here?
so for me, I don't know. I kind of see both sides of this, right? Like where I'm like, I think it was the right play though overall because Georgia's picking Shannel, obviously correct. Shannel picking Georgia's is really good because then she doesn't have to worry about any of these like alliance ideas coming up really like right because like we know and I think this is just interesting. A lot of the times I noted at the beginning of this episode when they were picking parts like do you remember how they were like, oh, Shannel and Angeria have a thing, like they're an alliance? And I was like, oh, that's not a thing. And then it was like all of a sudden they were working together again, and then this episode it kind of happened, and I was like, well, this is strange. Um, so like I don't think she should have picked like Angeria because that would have also put to four, but at this point, like I, it's hard to say it was necessarily wrong for her to pick Georges. It was just like a different storyline or a different um idea than I guess what some of us might consider to be like the right choice, right? She's just she's I think she's always been about being charitable and like even if she's kind of painted like she's like that ha 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 mother like I'm coming to like be the evil stepmother. I don't think she's ever had that personality trait herself. So I was kind of I guess I wasn't that shocked that she did this. I don't know if it would have been the choice I would have made. Maybe I would have given it to someone else. Like maybe I would have given it to Vanjie. Maybe I would have been like, okay, Vanjie, here you go. Like, this is for you, girl.
I
But
would have
at the
just
same
given it
time,
anybody but somebody that already has 3 stars. Like, it just seems so crazy to me to put yourself that far out of the running. Unless Shannel is just that far out and just doesn't think she has a chance.
I mean, she did say something similar to that already in this season, where she kind of just felt like she was like dudded, and she was like, "I'm just kind of over it" at one point. So like, that's a definite possibility. That being said, though, I think I think it's okay to have these opinions. The only thing that's bad is the lip sync this week.
I was gonna ask, what are your thoughts on that? 'Cause these songs
I
this year are so bad.
wow.
Just,
I have a lot of thoughts. Not many are very positive about this though.
yeah, same.
Um, I think one of the biggest things is like the song is just awful. Like there's really no way around it other than saying that, right? Like,
So
can we really say
bad.
anything other than this was one of the worst songs we've ever seen be chosen or performed on the Drag Race stage? Like, were there any other lyrics at times? Like,
There's
it,
not
it really
even any
felt like there
build up
weren't.
to the song at all. It's like a remix to a song, and they couldn't even do any like build up in the music either. Like it was boring. Who's picking the
It
songs this season?
it felt like I don't. It felt like you were supposed to enjoy the song to some extent, right? Like, but the woman who was here, because I don't know her straight up, like I don't know the girl who was the um the judge this week. I didn't really
Girl,
know
Mariah
who.
Carey, I don't know her either.
Right, like I didn't know her. I was like, girl, I don't know who you are. Like, and that's fine. I don't have to know everyone. I don't have to be like the most pop culture reference person ever. But at the same time, like if this is the song you're picking for her, like, does she have a better discography to go to? Like, no hate towards her. I really mean, like, is there something we should be listening to? Because this feels like um, that moment where it was like, what's the queer art worth protecting? Because like, I was like, there's nothing worth anything here, in my opinion. I was like, this is not good. No one can tell me, oh, this is good. This slayed, mama. I'd be like, this is trash, mama. Like, get rid of this.
The
This is garbage.
You know what's
Like,
getting me? Okay, I've been obsessed with the song ever. Like I liked it back in the day, but I forgot it existed until they did on UK versus the World 2. Release Me by Agnes. It's just like with that,
uh,
you know that song. Like it's kind of like it was early 2000s, early 2010s, just like club pop kind of thing, and it's kind of giving like kind of a little bit of like Share energy kind of thing, where it's kind of like Believe kind of thing. Like
Leave
it's
was so
kind of
much
that
better than that. How dare
same.
you?
Well, it's kind of like that same club vibe kind of thing, like old school but club, but music I would expect people that listen to disco to make now. That is what
Old
she
school
gives
to
me.
make it bad.
That is what she's giving me though, but it's she's not making it well.
I
I was not feeling it. It was just not. It was. I don't think I will be. I usually add a lot of songs from Dragless into my playlist. There's a lot of songs from season 16, Body. On the top of my head, I get there all night. I put Shower back on my playlist even after that
I can't
that
believe that
show, but I, I-
you didn't
but
have that already on your
I'm
playlist.
not
That's a
really a
crime in
big Becky
itself.
G fan. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah,
I was talking about body as well, but okay.
well, that's for another story. Anyway, yeah, there will never be a song from the season so far that will be on my playlist at all whatsoever. Like this has just been like the worst, the worst collection of
Well,
Drag Race tracks I think we've had in quite some time. This is going back to back in the day when like RuPaul could only like get like the B-side tracks from most of these albums, not even like the lead singles. Like this is what it's giving me here. Like
girl, I
I don't
pray for
know.
some B-side tracks. How dare you?
Like, these are just so bad, so bad. Um, do you have
I
anything else to say about
mean,
this lip sync? I don't want to talk about it anymore, especially
I'm just
because
saying it really cements that last week's was like the best lip sync we're probably going to get from the season, and no one expect anything more, please, because you're not probably going to get it. and you don't want to feel sad.
Well, you know what? We have to expect more because next week is the Lollapalooza. We're gonna have to listen or sit here through a whole episode of these people lip syncing. I'm so scared. I've never been
Oh
just so not looking forward to an episode of a show as I have been after like the lack of any sort of just like real meaty content from this episode. Like it just feels like for me the storylines are kind of up. I have a feeling next episode they're gonna do something similar to this. We'll probably get like 5 minutes with them in the workroom at the beginning of the episode. We'll get some talk about them planning for the Lollapalooza. Then it's gonna be entirety about the Lollapalooza. Like we're not gonna get any story. Story is probably gonna be done. We'll get some confessional storylines probably. I can't imagine them really bringing anything up here substantial that makes me kind of like really excited for what will really happen here at the end game. Other than the fact that we'll probably get some badges here that will probably screw over one of our front runners here, which I don't know if I like that potential happening here. I just
no, that makes me upset if that happens.
it's just not. I don't know how to feel going into this next episode. I'm just very conflicted. Like, the season's
Like
been
right
fine,
now, I
but no,
mean,
go for it.
the badge count is really weird because at 4 badges, we have 3 girls now. Angeria has been knocked from the top 30. She's now in 4th place. And when we're looking at the other girls right now in this kind of scenario, we see Roxxxy and Plastique still at 4. Each of them feel like they have really earned their 4 badges, in my opinion. I know that Roxy has been given one from Nina, but I do have to say that I feel like her performance the whole season has been good enough to justify her being in a top position. I can't say the same thing about Jorgeous, in all honesty, right? Like, and if you feel differently, that is totally fine. If anyone here feels differently, but for me, Jorgeous doesn't feel like she has 4 badges. She earned 1 badge from a challenge. She earned today's badge from a challenge. That's 2. She earned 1 badge from this challenge because Shannel gave her one, just as like a I'm thankful that she gave me a badge. And she earned one from a mini challenge win, which I'm not against her getting a mini challenge win, but her performance has been so hit and much miss that it's been like, does she really deserve to be in the top 3? And could she be one of the people that dethrones someone in the top 2 like Plastique? Like, what kind of a moment is that in our history? Like, it's really given that like nasty feeling in your gut, like season 3 kind of thing, where you're like, "Ooh, I'm not liking how this is ending." Of All Stars, I should say All Star season 3.
I don't want to
So
see
it's
another
one of the
Shangela moment. Don't wish that upon us, Jack. Don't do it.
I'm just saying that like I feel like we should all be wary of like the possible writing on the wall because it feels like though they've been constantly praising Plastic for all of her progress she's made, I'm nervous for her. And now I'm kind of nervous for both Angeria and Roxy, which is weird because I feel like they've been the top 2 the whole season of like who's going to be there, like who's getting it next, right? Imagine a world where neither of them make it to the top 3.
That would
Wouldn't
just
that
be
be like
really
the
bad
craziest thing?
storytelling. That would be the worst storytelling in the history of reality TV if Angeria, like, if Roxy and Angeria don't both make it to the end, even though here it looks a little bit questionable for Angeria getting there. Narratively, what have we been doing this whole time? What
I
season
don't
have we been
know.
watching?
That is why I'm like something here feels weird. Like something doesn't make sense. Like and with Lollapalooza coming up, like Georges is here already in the front. Like that doesn't seem good to me. I don't know about the rest of y'all out there, but I'm a little fearful. I'm like, this doesn't seem like it's one of the best things that could happen. It doesn't sit right with my vision of the world that I want to see on this. I'm not really feeling the fantasy right now for that. Like never in my life did I think to myself, "Oh, Georges deserves to be in the top 3 at the end of the season." I don't think many people do feel that way, but it scares me that it could happen. I mean, let's call a spade, you know. She's loved by RuPaul. RuPaul loves Georges. No matter how you feel about her, that is not a thing that can be like that's not something that we can deny. Like she loves Georges. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And the thought of her like bypassing all these other, in my opinion, more worthy contestants, like even people like Nina and Gottmik, who aren't near the top right now, still think that they should be there before Jorgeous should be. And I'm not trying to take away or drag Jorgeous, but at the same time, like something has to be said about performance. And maybe Jorgeous gets the top three, and then she's the easy like your third place, and now it's between the next two girls. But that wouldn't feel right for me either. I would still feel like like I don't want to see a world where this happens. That's all I'm saying.
Like Georges has had some amazing growth, but it would feel very, very weird for her to start out the season the way she did. To have a couple of really good challenges at the end that kind of, work to her wheelhouse. After having, the strength and the growth in the comedy for that to be kind of how it ends would be really weird. Like I don't like I get it, it's not how you start necessarily, it's how you finish. But I still don't think Georges has really been built up as a front runner at all, whatsoever. And I agree, her taking a spot from somebody else, even like you said, her being in front of Gottmik of all people is still just it doesn't make any sense. And again, I mean this out of love to some degree. Like I said, like I'm kind of blown away where we're at here. But if we really think about it, technically, Georges really only has two wins, as you said there. Two of the badges were kind of given to her in outside circumstances. So, um, if anybody ends up being the Jade of the season that ends up tying for spots and end up, hopefully kind of losing from there, I kind of hope it's Georges. I'm sorry, Georges. I'm
Right.
glad to see you. I'm glad to see you do well here. I don't think, as you said here, I don't think it would narratively fit this season. I don't think anybody can really win this season outside of Angeria or Roxxxy with the outside chance of Plastique. But I still just I don't think they've given Plastique the love that I feel like that would make me feel like they're supporting her. So um, probably, I guess I'm expecting Angeria to somehow win the lip sync SmackDown. They've lived for her lip syncs this whole entire season, even though I really haven't. But then again, like I said, nobody has really brought that much greatness to the lip sync outside of Roxy and a few other asterisks here and there that I can't remember off the top of my head. But, um, you know, we'll see, I guess. Um, three more episodes left. And I think one more episode till we figure out who are our top three officially. So, um, Jack, do you have any final words to close us out for the week?
I do actually. I forgot to mention this in my tirade against Jorgeous, and I'm sorry for anyone who loves Jorgeous or thinks I was being too mean. Um, but I thought about it, and Jorgeous is the only other queen that has been chopped this season, right? Like when I was originally thinking about it, I was like, okay, who could possibly end up being in the top three? I looked over and I was like, so we had three people been chopped this season, but then I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute. Gottmik, Angeria three times, Roxy twice, and I was like, that's seven. And so I forgot, looked back on it. Jorgeous was cut in week three, I believe. And now that I'm like looking at it and thinking about this, I'm like, it's interesting how most of the girls that got cut ended up doing extremely well in the competition. And it was just like kind of something funny to see that like Angeria and Roxy both being some of the most cut people still end up in the top three. So now I'm like, does Jorgeous have a chance because she was one of the cut girls as well? I'm not sure what's going to happen because, again, lip sync Lollapalooza next week. She tied in a lip sync this week against Shannel, which I'm gonna say this. It's gonna probably make a couple people upset. I actually think she lost the lip sync to Shannel, if I was being honest, but I don't think anyone won the lip sync either because we watched it. So anyone who didn't watch it this week, you have won the lip sync
To say, I
yourself
think we
by
were the
not having to
losers
see it.
here. We lost. Big
We
one.
all lost. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing that you bring out there. I'm just, who would have thought going into this, like I said, an episode before we probably figure out who our finalists are, that Georges would have a possibility of being one of those people. Anyway,
Not me, girl. Not me.
eh,
I would have bet money.
if it happens, it happens. But I feel like narratively, we're definitely in store for a different result for this finale here. So. we'll kind of see how things happen here. It also kind of depends how they run it. Will they get a badge for every lip sync they win? Will the top two get badges? Will they get multiple badges for getting to the end? Who the hell knows? We guess we will find out next week as we get closer to the end of the season. And I gotta say, the closer we get to the end, the happier I am because this season for me is kind of running out of steam. Think I'm kind of ready for it to be over. I'm ready to crown a winner here. I've realized that I don't think this format is for me. So while the season will still go down in history as light years better than season one, season five, and season eight, uh, from there, I think jury's out for where it will probably land. Probably right, very close to that in All Star 7. But, you know what? Who knows? We could possibly be in store for the best lip sync Lollapalooza of all time. Maybe it's like a season 9 thing where we have a whole bunch of like, horrible lip syncs, and then all of a sudden someone gives us a roses moment that lives in history for forever and cheats the real winner out of their prize. Oh dear Lord, Jorgeous is going to somehow pull out roses from her ass. Oh Lord. Okay, well, on that note, much love to you, Jack. Here, I appreciate you always, every single week here, being here to give your opinion and hanging out, and it's always so much fun to talk Drag Race with you. And so excited because guess what? We're not gonna have very much long to wait. Because you know what? We're not even gonna have to wait till the season is over here. Because we'll have Canada versus the World 2 coming very shortly. Expect a podcast previewing that season very soon. And to everyone out there that has listened so far, again, please make sure you like and subscribe. Love having you guys here. But I want to talk to y'all too. So please get the comments going. Let's get some spill going. Or let's some tea spilling. What the fuck am I saying there? As we finish up this All Stars 9 journey here. With that being said, on behalf of Jack tonight, my name is Renegade. And until next time, y'all, beautiful benefactresses, stay beautiful. Bye!
Bye, sisters.